Ready for the pop? Yeah, I think this is alcohol free, actually. Yo, welcome back to another Bible study with me on the Gospel of Matthew. And today we are going over Matthew chapter 7. But before we do, I want to take a couple seconds and make a little speech because it's worth it. It's worth making a little speech. So first of all, let me tell you before we get into this video any further, before I make my little speech, I want to tell you what we're going to be doing in this video. The first thing we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to read the entire chapter of Matthew chapter 7, like we always do. We've been in this series on the Gospel of Matthew. We're going through the Gospel of Matthew every single chapter, every single day. We're reading it word for word, verse by verse, and we're explaining it. And the three things that we're focusing on are spirituality, theology, and history. Now, we're going to do that in this video. We're also going to be talking about judging people. I've got lots of cool stuff to say about that, so that's really awesome. That's just a great reason to watch the rest of the video. Oh, and also two more important things. That's four, but I mean two more important things. First of all, if this is the first time you ever landed on one of my videos, let me tell you what we're about. First of all, we're a Bible study. Like, this channel is an entire Bible study channel. We study the Bible. And the three things we look at the most are history, theology, and spirituality. So if you're a serious student of the Bible, you're really looking for a serious Bible study, people who really talk about the hardcore truth of the Bible, about history, real history, not the fake stuff, the real history, the real theology, not the fake stuff, and the real spirituality, like the real stuff, not the fake crap. This is a channel for you. So go ahead and click subscribe now so you don't forget. Like, it's legit stuff. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that it's like not, because it's like legit. I mean, dude, just go back and watch the freaking intro. I mean, that's like fire. So, and it also makes people upset too. So it's even better, which basically tells you I don't care. And you know, when you're dealing with somebody who doesn't care and they're telling you this is what we're talking about, like, dude, that's legit. So yeah. Anyways, so click subscribe. The other thing is that I'm on Instagram, believe it or not. I've been on Instagram for a long time, but I'm on Instagram, and you can go and follow me. It's at Adam Jordan Clark, just like my YouTube, Adam Jordan Clark. And yeah. You should follow me on Instagram, because I put out little tidbits of information here and there about all kinds of different stuff. And I don't really rant too much, but I just give out as much information as possible and post some different stuff sometimes, show you a little bit about my life sometimes, talk to you about a little bit of things. Last year I broke my wrist, and I put that on there, so that was cool. And it was like all messed up. So that was, I mean, it wasn't cool that I did that, but it's cool to see that picture. No, it wasn't. It was really bad. But anyways, yeah. Instagram, Adam Jordan Clark. Go follow me. You'll like it. It'll be awesome. For sure. So, with that, I got an announcement. And the announcement's like really, really, really simple. I'm going to try and make it as short as possible. And then we're going to get into this video. So let me try and make this really short. The announcement was basically a thought that I had today. And what I was thinking about was this YouTube channel. And I was thinking about the rest of my life, and I was thinking about my career and potential careers and what I could do, and so on and so forth. And so just to bring you people up to date, if you don't know who I am, I'm a theologian, a Bible teacher. That's what we're called, theologians. I'm a Christian theologian. And so basically what we do is we study the Bible all day and then try to explain it and give answers to people and stuff. That's pretty much what we do. And we got kicked out of church a really long time ago. We're not allowed in churches anymore. Very few pastors are theologians, and very few churches have theologians because we're too smart and academic and crazy, and we talk about too much crazy stuff. So we got kicked out. The only places that theologians belong now are in universities. And so I'm working on my PhD right now, PhD student, and hopefully I'll finish that program because PhDs are really, really, really hard. Hopefully I'll finish that program, have a PhD one day, and maybe I might be able to become a professor at some school or something. That would be cool. That would be like a really awesome job. You don't really make a lot of money doing that. But it would be cool to do that. Like, it'd be cool. But whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. That's a topic for another time. But I was thinking about that today. I was like, man, like, you know, if I really wanted to, like, if I was really like all about it, I was like, dude, I'm dead set. I'm going to be a university professor. Or the other side, it was like, dude, I'm dead set about becoming a pastor. Like, I'm going to be a pastor of this church. Like, if I really wanted to do that, I could. You know, like, I totally could. I could just totally stop everything that I'm doing and go full board into it. And I was thinking about it today. I was like, well, what is it exactly that you really want to do? And what are the implications of that? And first of all, like, the thing that I want to do is teach the Bible. Like, that's just clear and cut, pretty simple. That's what I do. That's what I want to do. So that's easy to understand. But the way that I'm teaching the Bible is absolute, completely, full 100% a career killer move, for sure. Like, the way that I'm teaching the Bible, this is like, first of all, this is how you get kicked out of church and never allowed back. This is how you ruin any type of pastoral career to begin with. So for you young people out there who are trying to become pastors, go watch all my videos and just realize this is how you do not become a pastor. What I'm doing. Like, if you really want to ruin your life and you really want to ruin your career, do what I'm doing. Say entirely crazy stuff about the Bible. Yeah, that's going to ruin your life. In terms of teaching at a university, I don't know. That's really weird because, like, you know, lots of universities are Christian who deal with this kind of stuff. And lots of them are evangelical. And I don't necessarily say the most evangelical things. And so basically what I'm trying to tell you is, like, I'm putting out all this information on the internet. And it's like, dude, you're ruining your career here. Like, you're ruining the rest of your life. Like, you're ruining whatever reputation you could have or have. Like, you're ruining it. You're absolutely ruining your life right now. You're sabotaging yourself. And it's sad because you're really young and you're kind of good looking and you could have a future somewhere else. But yet you're doing really stupid stuff right now. And everybody else's advice to me so far has been to, like, they're like, dude, you're like up here and you need to freaking tone it down to, like, way down there, like way below the screen. Because you're going way too far. And the sad thing is, like, I agree with them. I really agree with them. I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I have gone too far. And you know what? I don't really care necessarily. Because the way I see it is, like, really simple. It's like, dude, if God called you to do something and God's put it in your heart to do that thing, you shouldn't care about what other people have to say. You just shouldn't. And I'm going to be honest with you, dude, the stuff that's happening in American churches in terms of the Bible being taught and theology being taught and truth being taught, it is just absolutely sad. And the fact that nobody says anything about it, that it just goes unseen and unheard and nobody cares, and it's something we're telling young people that they should do. These young pastors who are coming up, we're telling them, yeah, this is how you have to be. You have to look like these celebrity pastors to be successful. Dude, it's sad. It's sad. You know, and dude, I mean, other countries are doing this. There are other churches in other countries who are training evangelists to come to America and evangelize churches. In other words, there are people in other countries who are sending their evangelists here to America, to American churches, to preach the gospel in American churches to get these people saved because the pastors aren't doing it. Pastors aren't even preaching the gospel. So I look at that situation, and to me, it's heartbreaking. To me, I'm like, you know what? I will for sure throw the rest of my life away. I'll ruin any reputation I have. Because, by the way, if you didn't know, somebody my age and doing the stuff that I'm doing, it's like, dude, the first thing that you want to do is you want to go build as many relationships with as many pastors as possible. That's the first thing. Secondly, you want to go build as many relationships with as many churches as you possibly can. That's what those are the two things you want to do. If you really want to be successful in this area, that's what you got to do. And I'm not doing that. Not at all. I don't want to be associated with those people at all. Like, I don't want to be associated with those people. To me, they're not even Christian. Like, I don't even consider them to be Christian. I consider them to be charlatans or false teachers or whatever it is you want to call it. I don't think they're Christians. I think they're just phony, baloney, fake. I'm pretending to be Christian people. I actually think a lot of them are atheists. I think a lot of pastors in America are atheists. That's actually what I think, especially some of the celebrity ones. So, I'm ruining my life here on the internet, on YouTube, and you get to watch my demise in real life. That's like so awesome. You get to like see some dude ruin his freaking life and actually want to do it. So, yeah, this is making bad decisions 101, and I'm being serious too. Like it's not a joke. Like I'm really making bad decisions, and I'm perfectly fine with it because to me, I think the truth is more important than your life. I think the truth is more important than what other people have to say. I think the truth is more important than having a YouTube following or viewership on YouTube. Because like the biggest thing on YouTube is like, dude, you got to have a lot of views. That's what everybody wants. And I'm like, dude, I don't care about views. I don't care about how many people follow me. Like it'd be great to have a lot of people follow me and have a lot of views. And I do have goals. Like I'm not going to, set aside that. Like my goal is to have 100 subscribers at the end of the month for sure. Is that going to happen? I don't know. The way I'm talking, probably not. Because like the last thing you want is to click on a video and have somebody tell you that you're wrong. Like that's the last thing you want. And that's the first thing I'm doing. And it's like, dude, this is not how you do YouTube. This is not how you build a following. This is not how you do anything on the internet. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. This is not how you do it. You're 100% correct. But you know what? I think the truth is important. And I think the truth is life-changing. And from my perspective, it's like, dude, if one person lands on this video and goes, wow, like, that dude told me the truth and it meant something to me, and he was like sincerely telling me the truth because that's what he wanted to do, and it actually penetrated my heart and changed my life. To me, if one person does that, it's worth it. It's like I'd rather ruin my whole life just to have that happen. And that's absolutely insane. But it's a good thing. And it's a good thing because it's really simple. It's like, dude, if God calls you to do something, you just do it. It's better to do it than to not do it. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the way I see it. I'm not really trying to build a big YouTube channel. But I realized, like, dude, the stuff that I'm doing is crazy. And the stuff I'm talking about is insane. And I'm making really bad decisions. And you know what? I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for me to make these bad decisions. Because I think at the end of the day, it's really simple. To me, it's like it's like the old saying, the proof is in the pudding. So in other words, it's like this. It's like, dude, if God is really behind the stuff that I'm doing, then the results will eventually come. Like he'll bring the people in to make it happen. And if not, then I must have got something really wrong in my head. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. We're just going to keep doing it. So here's the rest of the video. So here it is, my amazing picture, Matthew chapter 7. And we do this every single time we do a Bible study with me video in the Gospel of Matthew. And the reason why we do it is simply because it's funny. And it's actually funny because this is a really, really, really ugly picture. And it's just hilarious to do it. So, yeah. Okay, so here we are in Matthew chapter 7. And even though I don't actually have it written up here at the top, for whatever reason, this is Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 all the way down to 12. So it should say 1 through 12 up here, but Apparently, I didn't put that in there for whatever reason. I think I just made a mistake there, which is actually quite cool because I actually don't really make too many mistakes. But you know what? Whatever. It's not that big of a deal. So, what we're going to do before we actually read this, we're going to do two things. First of all, we're going to read the passage, the whole entire chapter, because that's what we're doing. We're doing a Bible study on the chapter of Matthew, chapter 7. But before we read it, I want to go through and show you the whole chapter so you can see it in context, so you can have a good overview. And the reason why is because if you've missed the other videos, this is the first one you ever landed on, this whole thing that we're doing right now from chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, and chapter 9 are these little tiny teachings, just like you're seeing on your screen. It's like little portion size in every single chapter, from chapter 5 to chapter 9. And the reason why is because it's called the Sermon on the Mount. The whole Sermon on the Mount goes from, in Matthew's Gospel, it goes from chapter 5 to chapter 9. And what we're looking at here are all these different teachings that Jesus taught during the Sermon on the Mount, or supposedly taught during the Sermon on the Mount. And so I'm going to go through and just show you the rest of the passages that we have, so you can get an idea of these portion-sized texts and what we're going to be reading. So this is the second section that we have, and this is on Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 to 23. I actually got it right this time up there. That's kind of cool. I didn't make a mistake. And as you can see here, there's three parts. There's the narrow gate and the true and false prophets, which is obviously famously called, not famously, but you can say it could be famously, be a Matthew 7 prophet, false prophet, you know. Anyways, then the true disciples is down here at the bottom. And so that's pretty much for this section. And there's actually there's about 3 or 4 more sections in this chapter. Actually, there's not 3 or 4 sections left in this chapter. This is the last section. I made another mistake. And that's actually crazy because I just made 2 mistakes in about 2 minutes. So that's actually like really incredible. Because I typically don't really make mistakes like that, but also at the same time, I do make mistakes like that like all the time. So yeah, this is a good moment to realize that I make mistakes. And being that it's on a video about judgment, you know, judging others, this is a great place to go in the comments and start judging for making mistakes and being really critical of people who make mistakes. So it'd be like so awesome. So if you're one of those commenters, I want to read it. Okay, so back up at the top, and of course, getting serious here. We're going to go ahead and read all this stuff. We're going to read judging others and asking to knock. And so here's what it says in Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 1. And this is the NIV, by the way. Here's what it says. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrites. And we talked about this before. We talked about Matthew's favorite word is like hypocrite. He says it all the time. Verse 5, you hypocrite, take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. Actually, in the New King James, it says, do not cast your pearl before swine, which says it so much better. That's why you should totally read the Gospel of Matthew in the New King James, or at least the King James if you can read it, because it says it so much better. I'm not a King James only person because I read the New King James. They don't even accept me. But yeah. So it says, do not cast your pearl before swine. And if you want to tell somebody a funny joke sometime, somebody is like bullying you or something, or you're dealing with one of these Christians at a Bible study or something like that, what you should say to them is like, you should totally say this phrase. You should say, you know what? I don't cast my pearls before swine. It would just be so hilarious. It really would, because you're probably the only one who actually gets the joke, and the other person probably won't. So that's what makes it even more funny, because they don't realize that it's from Matthew chapter 7. Anyways, going on, he says, if you do, they may trample them under their feet, and turn and tear you into pieces. So basically, what this is saying, I got to make this point. Basically, this is saying, dude, don't hang your dirty laundry out for everybody to see. Okay. And I'm being serious here. Like this is really good advice. If you've done some bad stuff, if you got a lot of sin in your life, if you've, done some stupid stuff, which of course you probably have, I'll bet money on it. Like I don't have $1 million, but I'll borrow $1 million from somebody else so I can make this bet so I can earn $1 million because I'm really confident that I'm right about this. Because if you haven't done anything bad yet, like you're either lying or you're lying. I don't know which one it is, but it's one or the other. The point is everybody does bad stuff. But look, dude, when you do bad stuff, you need to be very careful of who you tell. Because what ends up happening is this Matthew chapter 7 stuff. You cast your pearls before swine. In other words, what you end up doing is you tell your bad stuff to the wrong person, and then basically, to put it in a simple way, all hell breaks loose. And all hell breaks loose on you. We're talking gossip, drama, endless fights, endless warfare, just ridiculous nonsense, Christian garbage. And that's exactly what it is, Christian garbage, especially if you're in a small church or a small group, or there's lots of people who know who you are. It's just bad. So be very wise. Like my advice to you is don't tell anybody anything personal about your life unless you're certain that you're friends. Because in the church world, there are two kinds of people. There are people who are your friends who are Christians, and then there are your Christian friends. Okay? Let me make this point clear. There are people who are your friends who are Christian, and then there are your Christian friends. In other words, which one comes first? Person being Christian or a person being your friend? In other words, at the end of the day, are they your friend first or are they a Christian first? And this is where the water gets really muddy because people hear that and they go, well, I have to be a Christian first. But what does it mean to be a Christian in this context? Well, it's definitely not the place you want to be. You want to be a friend to somebody first. You want to be a friend to them first. And you want to have a good relationship with that person. Christianity is a good thing. But there's a difference between being a Christian friend and having Christianity come first and being a friend and having the friendship come first. And what I mean by that is this. If you're a Christian friend, the filter of everything in your relationship with that person is going to be Christianity first and then your friendship. So what that means is this. The second that you do something wrong, guess what the first criteria is? Christianity. Which means what? Well, it means this relationship, all our decisions from here on out have to be made through this Christian box. We made a box. It's called Christianity. Now you got to go through this box. We're filtering our entire relationship through this little box that we made. And for those of you who don't know, there are plenty of passages in the Bible that talk about people sinning and what you should do for a person who sins. For example, here in Matthew's Gospel, it says, we'll get to it eventually, not in this chapter, but in another chapter. It says, look, if you see a brother sinning or stumbling, then, you go to him and you get 2 or 3 people to go to him. And if he doesn't, then you bring him before the church. So obviously when people read that passage, what do? Especially if you're Christian friends. Well, again, everything is filtered through this Christianity, this little box. And so when you sin, we got to hold this guy accountable. And then no, screw that. We're just going to go straight to the church. Most people misinterpret this passage and they misapply this passage. And basically the way they interpret the passage is we have to make this person's sin public. Okay, because the only way they're going to repent is if we make it public. So that's why they go gossiping, and that's why they do it. In other words, this is why you don't hang your dirty laundry out for people to see it. Don't hang it out to dry. Okay, dry it in your house. Put it in the dryer. Don't hang it out for everybody to see, because that's going to come back to haunt you. So in other words, I know they like to do this in small groups and all kinds of different Christian groups and stuff like that. You go around in circles and you talk about your sin and then you ask people for prayer or counseling or whatever. It happens a lot in the small groups, the Bible study groups. You'll be praying or whatever and be like, does anybody have anything to pray for? And there's always that one dude who says, I got a problem with lust And he always says it after you're holding hands with him. I don't know why that is. So, because of that, I stopped going to these little church group things or, little Bible study things where we all sit together and hold hands and then confess our sins to one another. Because there's always that one weird dude who has to make things really awkward. But anyways, that's a topic for another time. The point is that if you hang your dirty laundry out for people, it will come back to haunt you. If you go around telling the wrong people about your life and about your sin, it will come back to haunt you. So do not make that mistake. All right, so this video is running really long. We are going to come back to this judging others thing, but we got to read the rest of this passage because we don't want to get lost in translation talking about Christianese stuff, Christian lingo. Down here it says, ask, seek, and knock, and this is verse 7. Here's what he says. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. For anyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will you give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will you give him a snake? If you, then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will the Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. Or, as I like to say, do unto others before they do unto you. It just makes more sense that way. I don't know. That's I love to misquote that passage all the time because lots of people obviously don't know their Bible, and when you say do unto others before they do to you, they actually think you're quoting the Bible. So the next time you're at your Bible study or you're at church or a small group meeting or something like that, quote that scripture and say, hey, do unto others before they do unto you, and just see what happens. Just see what happens. There might be some old guy in the room who corrects you. He says, that's not right. Oh, whoa, son, But most of the young people, I guarantee you, most of the young people won't even, they'll shake their head and they'll be like, that's so right. That's so right. So, I give you something to laugh about later on. By the way, my advice is really either really, really great or like really, really, really horrible. I don't know. You get to decide. But if you do start trying this stuff out or you have experienced some of this stuff, dude, comment below and let me know. So let's go ahead and read this stuff. Narrow and the wide gates, verse 13. Enter through the narrow gate, and wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction. And many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only few who finds it. By the way, I did a video on this passage. It's called God's Grace. It's called God's Grace and the end times and all that stuff. It's really, really great. Basically, I talk about broad is the way that leads to destruction, and narrow is the way. God wants you to live a holy and righteous life, and that's very important to understand. This, by the way, is that passage where I said it could famously be known as a Matthew 7 prophet, which is basically a false prophet. And here's what it says, verse 15. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves, or ferocious wolves. Ravenous is the King James. Verse 16. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? In other words, do apples come from orange trees, or do orange trees come from apples? No, of course not. Verse 17. Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit, you will recognize them. This verse right here should absolutely terrify you, by the way, because it's not just talking about false prophets here. What it's actually talking about is the end times. Matthew's gospel is all about the end times, and basically what he's saying is like, dude, if your works don't match your lifestyle, what you say you believe, James said, show me your faith by your works. Or he said, I'll show you my faith by my works. Works without faith, faith without works is dead. In other words, your works have to match your faith. And basically what he's saying is like, dude, you can have all the faith in the world, but if you don't have the works, guess what, man? At the end of time, you're going to get thrown into the fire, and it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. And this part down here should really just absolutely terrify you. because it's talking pretty much just about everything that I just said. It's talking about the last day, on that day. Here's what it says, 21, verse 21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, on that day will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will or the works of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and perform many miracles in your name? Verse 23, then I will say to them clearly, I never knew you. Depart. In New King James it says, depart from me, I never knew you. But here it says, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. Isn't that amazing? Like, Jesus is talking here, and he's telling you straight up that if you don't do what he has commanded you to do, if you don't do the works, if you don't have the lifestyle to prove it, in other words, you're going around, you're calling yourself a little Christian because it looks cool on your Facebook, but yet your life's an absolute wreck, and you live in complete and utter sin, and you're saying, well, I'm Christian. I'm Christian. It's okay because I'm saved by God's grace. Well, you know what? You're living exactly like the devil. And for some stupid reason, you think you're going to end up walking into heaven. I'm sorry, but that's just not true. Like, you're going to die, and when you die, you're going to go to hell. That's literally what Jesus is telling you. He's saying, look, dude, you're going to know them by their fruit. All right? And I know this is harsh. It kind of, we went from like real cool, low-key stuff to just like, bam, in your face, you're going to hell, like I know. But that's okay, because you can handle it. If you couldn't handle it, you wouldn't be watching this video. The point of the matter is this. There are people out there who say that they're Christian and they're not. There are people out there who act like they're Christian and they're not. And worst of all, there are people who truly think and believe that they're Christian and they're really not. Look, how do you know you're Christian? It's really simple. You got the works to prove it. You have the faith. Faith comes, and because of that faith, you will have works. If you don't believe me, go read Ephesians chapter 2. Yeah, it's Ephesians chapter 2. It's verse 10. It's verse 10. Yeah, it's not verse 8 and 9. That's the verse where it says, for by grace you have been saved through faith. That's 8 and 9. Go read verse 10. Okay? Go read Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. And what does it tell you there? It tells you that God has created works beforehand that you might walk in them. In other words, salvation is just not about you believing and getting saved and letting Jesus come into your little hearts. Salvation is about the works that follow. So if you have no works to prove your salvation, you're not saved. Pure and simple. You're not born again, right? That's why the Bible says those who are born again do not sin. So coming down here to the last part, this is verse 24 down to 29. And I have no idea what this says because I have not read this in a very, very, very long time. So we're going to read it and try and figure out what this actually says. Starting here in verse 24, it says, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. When the rains came, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the wind blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority, not as the teacher of the law. Now, I know I just got like really mean there. That's okay. I just told you a little bit of stuff about hell and how you're going to go to hell and why you need works because faith without works is dead. And I talked to you about Ephesians and blah, 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 blah. And for those of you who don't know your Bible, probably thought that I'm crazy and out of my mind. But you know what's amazing is that when you actually read the Bible, you learn stuff. And we just learned something really important. This passage is like really famous because it talks about the building your house on a solid foundation. But if you notice, Jesus says this phrase that's like really important. He says those he puts into practice. Okay? See that? He says, therefore, Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice, in other words, he actually does them, is like the wise man who built his house on the rock. And it goes on to say, the one who does not put them into practice, verse 26, it says, but everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is a foolish man who builds his house on sand. So what does that mean? What does that mean, oh great teacher? That's funny. Well, dude, I mean, this is not complicated. This is not rocket science. This is just simple stuff, okay? God expects you to do the works. He has created works, and he wants you to do them. So in other words, it's not just about God's grace. It's not just about, oh, I'm saved by God's grace. It's okay. I get to do what I want. It's a little bit more deeper than that. Like, if you're going to say you have faith in God, you better start acting like it. If you're going to call yourself a Christian, you better start acting like it. Okay, that's what it means. Why? Because when the rains come, and notice in this passage that it doesn't say that the rains are not going to come. It says when the rain comes. In other words, when the trial comes, when the temptation comes, when the reality of your claims come true. In other words, you're going to go around calling yourself a Christian. And you're really not, but you're going to do it because you think it's cool. And one day, something's going to come along that you're going to face, and all of a sudden, you're going to realize, it's going to hit you right in the face, and you're going to realize, wait a second, I'm the dude who built his house on the sand. This whole time, I thought I was Christian, and I'm not. The reason why is because I never did anything that's in the Bible. I never read my Bible, and I never followed the teachings of Jesus. I never applied them to my life. I'm the man who built my house on the sandy foundation. I didn't build my house on a rock. Okay? It's the man who does the work. It's the man who does the work. Like, you have to put in the work. You have to work. You have to work. You have to work. It's all about works. Like, literally, I know that your church doesn't tell you that, and your pastor doesn't tell you that, because, your pastor's lost his mind and doesn't read the Bible, apparently. But when you read the Bible, you find out, like, Jesus literally talks about works. And he literally tells you, look, you'll know them by their fruit. You'll know them by their works. I'm commanding you to do works. Paul talked about works. You're not saved because of your works, but because you're saved, you're doing works. In other words, it's faith through grace. Now I'm saved, and because I'm saved, I'm doing works. That's how you know you're an authentic Christian. If you're really saved, you're going to have the works to prove that you're saved. Because there's no reason to act like a Christian and not do the works if you're not really a Christian. Because as we've learned, the fake Christian is the one who does not do the works. And why is that? Well, I will tell you why that is. Because the Christian works are really, really, really hard. Okay? And there's no reason to do it unless you absolutely believe in God. I mean, seriously, why would you want to do unto others as they have done to you? Why not do unto others before they do to you? Look, if you're not really a Christian, that's what you're going to do. You're going to do unto others before they do to you. I'm going to do this to you before you do it to me, because I already know you're going to do it to you. And the reason why I think you're going to do it to me is because I know in my heart I want to do it to you. In other words, it's like this. A cheater is always worried about being cheated. A liar is always worried about being lied to. And a thief is always worried about being stolen, having his possessions stolen. And so that's how you can identify a liar. They're always worried about people lying to them. Okay? The same principle applies here. So, look at your church. Look at your friends. Look at your Christian friends. Look at all the people out there who call themselves Christians. Ask yourself the real simple question. Do the works. Not the actions, not the mistakes, not the stupid stuff, okay? People make mistakes. People do dumb things. People make sinful decisions. We're not going to disregard that. I'm not saying you should focus on that, but it's obviously an evidential thing that happens. People sin, okay? But there's a big difference between having really, really good works that are biblical. In other words, a person's actually reading the Bible and doing what they're reading in the Bible. And then there's the person who's not doing that. And the person who's not doing that is not a Christian. Pure and simple. Doesn't get any more complicated than that. We don't need to have 4,000 sermons on this. We don't need to write 12,000 books on this. We don't need another freaking John Calvin to come along and write, 1,500 pages of works here, or 1,500 pages in a book to tell us what it means to be Christian. Okay, we don't need that. It's pretty simple. A real Christian is someone who's saved through faith by grace. And because they're saved, they're reading the Bible. And guess what? They're doing the works that are in the Bible. They're doing the works. They're reading the Bible and they're applying it to their life. They're going the extra mile. All these teachings that we're going over, by the way, are the teachings that you should be following. The real Christians are the people who follow this stuff. If you're not following this stuff, if you're not doing this stuff every day, you're not a real Christian. Pure and simple, you're not a real Christian. Bam, in your face. Go cry to your mommy. Go cry to your daddy. Go cry to whoever it is you gotta go cry to. I don't care. Dude, Christianity's freaking hard, okay? It's really, 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 really freaking hard because you have to do stuff that you don't want to do, okay? His ways are not like your ways, right? You're two entirely different people. God has made commandments. He's given you works, and he expects you to do the works. So, do the works. But you can't do the works unless you're truly saved. And that's how you know you're saved. That's what it means to be Christian. What does it mean to be a Christian? It means to do the works of Jesus. Because you're saved. Not because you're trying to be saved, but because you're saved. So, this video has gone on for a really, really long time. Almost 45 minutes. I mean, just like super long. If you made it this far, like, thank you so much for watching. I know there was some long drawn out stuff there, but you know, I'm trying to get better at making videos. I'm trying to, you know, improve some stuff. And if there's anything in here that you think could be better or something like that, go ahead and comment below and let me know. And if you like what I'm doing and you like the direction where I'm going with this channel, and the direction that we're going with, just to be clear, is basically we're going to still be talking about the Bible. We're still going to be talking about history and theology and spirituality. And we're just going to get harder and harder and harder and harsher and harsher and harsher and more direct and more crazy. And so if you're into that and you just came here, this is the first video you ever watched, click subscribe wherever the button's at, wherever it's at. And, you know, join the show because it'll be like really, really awesome. Also, for this video, I decided to do something very special for the outro, because I have a normal outro that I do. In this one, I decided to do something entirely different, and it's actually designed to be like really funny. I wanted to just give you something to laugh at and go, wow, that's really funny. And so if you remember the clip in the first part of the video, then this will actually make sense. So, yeah, I hope you like it. I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Jesus turned water into wine, and now we are going to drink that wine. Look, this bottle of wine is not that big, okay? It's only like about the size of my head, and I really don't know. Like, look at this. Right? So, I don't know. I don't even know what this is. Cabernet Sauvignon, but I don't even know if it's possible to drink this much. Actually, I think it is possible to drink this much, and I'll probably drink this whole thing in the next 5 minutes or so. I don't know. Let's see. What is this? It's 1.5 liters. It doesn't tell. I think this is alcohol free, actually. There's no alcohol in here. Yeah, there's no alcohol in here at all. There's no alcohol in here. Let's open it up and find out. Ready for the pop. Yeah, I think this is alcohol free, actually. I don't know. I don't really. I don't know. It doesn't taste like alcohol to me. It just tastes like grape juice. I don't know. Jesus must have been here. He turned water into grape juice. And then he said, I'm going to make Jordan into an apostle. So I got to show up at his house. And they showed up last night and he's like, Jordan, turn water into wine. I'm pretty sure this is grape juice. It doesn't even smell like alcohol. Maybe I should just drink the whole bottle and find out. Like, dude, look at the size of this thing. It takes up like the whole freaking screen. I'm just going to drink the whole thing. And I'll let you know tomorrow in the next video if it actually worked. Because I'll know. I'll be trashed. I'll be like, totally wasted. You know what? I think there is alcohol in here. It doesn't say how much it is on the bottle, but you know what? I don't even know where this bottle came from either. I actually think this might be like 5%. That's my best guess. I don't know, because you can like hardly taste it. It would be really funny if I drank this whole bottle and then like searched it on the internet or something and found out it's like 15%. You know what they say? When in doubt, drink the whole bottle. It's been cold here in San Antonio. Really cold, actually. Today, it was 65 degrees. And tonight, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a whopping 30 degrees. That's really cold for South Texas. It's like frigid weather. It might actually snow tonight. You know, there's that scene in that one show. I never watched the show. I've always just seen the clip. Trailer Park Boys is like, is that you? Or the liquor talking? And he's like, I am the liquor. Yeah, there can't be any alcohol in here. Grape juice, guys. It's grape juice. You know what they say? When in doubt, drink it all out.